name's Casey Nye, and I'm a CCPC member, Superintendent of DC Everest School Districts. Probably more importantly, I'm a husband to Sarah and dad to Keegan, Ellery, and Annika. Yeah, I think any leadership role is trust-based. So when I saw the questions around authority, I kind of had to do a little bit of inventory on that, because I think that only goes as far as people continue to see you as using it effectively or using it well. And so I think I see authority as an extension of people's trust and see it as effective where that's really good, and when it doesn't feel like it's working, I kind of wonder more about that relationship building side and how our trust is with different groups or individuals that might question authority. I wasn't raised in a home or in organizations that probably took official authority as the lead part of the conversation. I think it was around how do we mutually respect each other and try to identify things that are valuable to all of us, whether that's as a family or a team that I would coach, or in my place of work. I think it's trying to find things that together we see as really important to accomplish, and then how do we identify what our roles are to meet that objective. So there might be a title, but I don't think the authority comes with the title. It doesn't come with the title dad. I think my kids would tell you it's, when things are clicking, it's because we're all understanding what our roles are, and we've kind of got a common vision that we're working towards. So I think it's the same in work and in faith communities as well. Yeah, I think that we are constantly talking about how to serve our community as effectively as we possibly can, and we serve a really diverse community, and so the reality is there are lots of different perspectives around what's most important, and where stress comes into play, I think, with those kinds of conversations is resource decisions. And I think people think about budget and staffing, and for sure that's a huge part of the job. But I think when you get down to a classroom level, which is where it really, really matters, it's about time. And I think our time really reflects what our priorities are. So I think conversations around how we're going to use our time, how we're going to use other resources to meet that objective, to have the best impact on the most people that we serve. I think that's constantly what the work looks like. And it's trying to get as many voices invited into that conversation as we can. And you can't get everybody literally in the room together, but I think culturally trying to expect that we're going to represent as much variety and perspective as we can so that we have a more well-informed decision maybe leads to better trust of the authority that's given to us to make those decisions. So I think a lot of the work happens behind the scenes. It's not the moment that you're building the budget or doing the staffing plan. It's all the legwork to make sure that that's really well informed. Our organization is a good size organization. People know the classroom side of it, but we're 6,000 kids and 1,000 employees, and so none of that happens with one person. It's just not. It's an incredibly team-based environment. So I think, as opposed to like, when is it my call versus someone else's call, I think we spend a lot of time talking about who's going to run with what, who's running point on what, and knowing what kind of supports people need to be positioned to carry out their part of things. There's a moment in time when there has to be a single point of decision, but if you're built on that being the norm all the time, something's upside down, and that's not right. So that's not a typical thing for us. We're very, very team-based, and I think I sort of took the question around authority a little bit different when I was thinking through it, even on whether it's work or personal or family. I think that one thing I really have control over is, my perspective. I have the authority to change my thinking about things, and sometimes I have the authority to change how I use my time and where I choose to put myself to make sure it's aligned with what I think is really important. there's a lot of other things I really don't have authority over. I mean, I can maybe influence, I can try to shape it, I can work with people to make adjustments, but when it comes down to it, I do have the ability to say, this is the way I'm going to approach even the tougher situations, and I'm going to try to help others see things with that positive intent or with an optimistic perspective. So I see myself as a servant leader, and I think in that the authority is sort of cyclical. So I think in my household, I think my kids would be quick to say that mom's definitely got authority, and I think they do too. And I think in my employment, for sure, I've got lots of bosses. I've got a school board that's absolutely an authority. But then I've got 6,000 kids and their families that I serve, and I value serving them effectively. And so they might not be my boss per se, but they absolutely have influence over my work and what I choose to spend my time on. So and obviously I think there's more to when you get to those moments that are not a clear A or B, black or white kind of answer. You have to recognize that you have to be guided by a bigger mission to serve people well and take care of them. And whether that's a golden rule, whether that's a specific aspect of the Bible that you look to, the reality is we're here to make this a better place, and that's not going to be found in a policy manual. So. I think everyone has challenging walks, whether it's in their occupation, their personal life. We all have a story, and we don't know what other people are carrying. And so I understand that we all hit barriers and we all hit hard moments, and I think your faith is what you fall back on in those moments, because you have to see something bigger that guides you through those moments. So I think in the hardest moments and the most challenging moments, I think there has to be an inner well that you're leaning on, and I think that's what faith is all about.